Good evening and welcome to NewsNight. My name is Erin Ute. Tonight we'll cover all your international, national, and local news. Find out more about an invasive species that's taking over our city streets. Also, hear more about President Biden's interview with CBS where he discussed sending troops overseas. All this and more coming up on NewsNight. Six men were arrested last Thursday in northern Indian state of Uttar Pradesh for allegedly raping and killing two teenage girls whose bodies were found hanging from a tree a day earlier. The 15 and 17-year-old girls belong to the Dalit community, the lowest rung of India's rigid caste hierarchy. Dalits, formerly known as the Untouchables, are victims of thousands of attacks each year, according to the initial investigation. The sisters reportedly left their home on Wednesday and met two of the arrested men with whom they may have had a relationship, police said. The two men confessed to strangling the sisters after raping them and then called two of them to help get rid of their bodies. They later hung the bodies from a tree in an attempt to pass their deaths off as suicides. Two other men were arrested in connection with the incident, but police did not say what they are suspected of doing. Police brought complaints of suspected murder, assault, rape, and rape of a minor. A post-mortem examination that carried out a local hospital, and the bodies have been returned to their families, according to the police. The incident sparked anger in the village, and residents held a demonstration after the bodies were found. Police have been deployed across the village to maintain law and order, according to the local media reports. Rape and sexual violence have been under the spotlight since 2012 gang rape and brutal killing of a 23-year-old student on a New Delhi bus, and in 2020, a gang rape death of a Dalit woman followed a month after a 13-year-old was raped and killed in Uttar Pradesh, according to a slew of reports. After a 70-year reign, Queen Elizabeth II was laid to rest at her final location in Windsor Castle on Monday, September 19, 2022. She was the longest reigning British monarch and has truly made her mark throughout her lifetime. On September 8, 2022, Queen Elizabeth passed away, leaving behind her children, grandchildren, and other family members with whom she loved dearly. Her funeral consisted of close family, friends, world leaders, and other attendees in which over 1,000 people were present. As the conflict between China and Taiwan increases, Biden claims in an interview with CBS 60 Minutes he would deploy U.S. troops to defend Taiwan in the event of attack. While only 13 countries recognize Taiwan as a sovereign country, China has put immense pressure on the idea of, quote, reunification using tactics like maritime militia and drone surveillance to threaten the country, and most importantly, the Taiwanese soldiers with rising tension. The Biden administration references the Taiwan Relations Act, a U.S. policy agreeing to provide arms to Taiwan to defend themselves. Biden concluded the interview topic with a quote, "We agree to what we signed onto a long time ago. Taiwan makes their own judgments about their independence. We are not moving. We're not encouraging them to be independent. That's their decision," end quote. Coming up after the break, we'll dive into your national news. Our reporters will have more information about allegations against a well-known musician. Also, hear more about what dangerous drugs are making their way onto the streets. We'll be right back.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, and welcome back to NewsNight. Most of the student body of the Pittsburgh Public School.
Some of the United States allies.
Thursday, the FBI was seen rating.
Let's get started with today's forecast.
Today's high will only reach about 31 degrees.
It's looking a little cooler than we've seen in the past few weeks.
All this and more.
All this and more.
All this and more coming up on NewsNight.
Coming up on NewsNight.
Coming up on NewsNight.
federal jury on Friday convicted a former star of the St. Louis-based reality TV show Welcome to Sweetie Pies of arranging the shooting death of his nephew. The jury deliberated for about 17 hours before reaching its verdict in the murder for hire of James Tim Norman. The St. Louis Post-Dispatch reported he was charged with conspiracy to commit murder for hire and the conspiracy to commit mail and wire fraud. Norman and his nephew, Andrew Montgomery, both starred in the long-running OWN reality TV show about a popular soul food business founded in the St. Louis area by Robbie Montgomery, Norman's mother and Andre's grandmother. Federal prosecutors said Norman, 43, hired two people to kill the 21-year-old Montgomery on March 14, 2016, then tried to cash a $4,500 life insurance policy taken out his nephew months earlier. Prosecutors also said that Norman paid $10,000 to an exotic dancer, Teresa Ellis, to lure his nephew to the site where he was shot and paid $5,000 to travel Anthony Hill to shoot Montgomery. Ellis and Hill both testified for the prosecution case and both pled guilty to participating in the scheme. Norman testified last Tuesday that he took out the life insurance policy of his nephew to give to a longtime customer of the family restaurants, Whale Rabel Gangam, for business. Yangam pleaded guilty in July to conspiracy to commit murder for hire and wire fraud in the case. Norman's sentencing is currently set for December 15th. As the southwestern United States falls deeper and deeper into a drought, officials worry about the water supply. The Colorado River has been a designated water source for the states such as Colorado, New Mexico, Utah, Wyoming, Arizona, California, and Nevada, as well as parts of Mexico for over a century. The 1922 Colorado River Compact has been in place since it was made, but with the drought, officials and politicians are finding it necessary to finally make amends to the system. In recent years, instead of finding a new way to rebalance the Colorado River system, politicians have chosen to utilize reservoirs such as Lake Mead and Lake Powell, resulting in a 68% decrease in water from both reservoirs in the past 22 years. Now, both the reservoirs and the Colorado River are drying up, forcing politicians to have to make decisions about how to relocate the lessening water amongst the 7 states and Mexico that depend on it. The people affected hope that the allocations will be more balanced between the states and Mexico that need it, and will also include consideration of the Native Americans that rely on the same water resources. The new legislation will also have to take into account that Arizona, Utah, and Nevada are amongst the top 10 growing states in the nation. With this issue arising, politicians' decisions and ideas of how to create a solution will play a role in the upcoming midterm elections. In recent years, there have been multiple allegations against R&B artist R. Kelly. NewsNight reporter Alex Zahnizer has more information on the case.
The disgraced R&B singer R. Kelly was found guilty of several charges of child pornography and enticement of minors on Wednesday, September 14th. He was found guilty on 6 of the 13 counts. He was not found guilty of 7 counts for obstruction of justice and conspiracy to receive child pornography. This verdict came a year after Kelly was convicted of federal racketeering and sex trafficking in New York, receiving a 30-year prison sentence. Kelly had been accused by prosecutors, of engaging in sex acts with 5 minors, some of the acts being recorded. Over the course of 5 weeks, several of Kelly's victims testified, telling the jury that they were all underage when Kelly started to sexually abuse them. Kelly was tried alongside co-defendants Daryl McDavid, Kelly's former business manager, and his former associate, Milton June Brown. They were accused of conspiring with Kelly to rig the outcome of his previous trial in 2008. However, both were found not guilty on all charges. The case was centered around a witness using the pseudonym Jane, who claimed she was the person in a videotape showing Kelly performing sexual acts with an underage girl. Kelly was acquitted for charges relating to that video in the 2008 trial, as Jane did not testify. She decided to come forward a couple years ago because she said she, quote, became exhausted with living his lies, end quote. Kelly is not eligible for release until he is at least 80 years old.
Two dangerous illicit drugs are increasingly infiltrating the supply of street drugs. The two drugs are nitazene, a synthetic opioid that can be 10 times stronger than fentanyl, and xylazine, a non-opioid animal tranquilizer found in fentanyl. Nitazene has already led to many deaths, and health officials say it is more powerful than Narcan. Xylazine is just as dangerous, causing people to slip into a state of unconsciousness for hours. Dr. Laura Cahoe of Massachusetts General Hospital said, quote, "This is truly a poison drug supply," end quote. Coming up after the break, we'll have more details about a recent strain of thefts that have been happening locally in Pittsburgh. Also, hear more about the bugs you've been seeing everywhere and what you can do when you encounter the invasive species. Stay tuned. Pittsburgh police said a fight over a gun inside a Hill District apartment ended with 2 people shot, including a 3-year-old boy. Investigators said the shooting happened inside Center Park Apartments in the 2800 block of Center Avenue late last Wednesday night. According to the criminal complaint, the shooting was the result of an argument between adults in the apartment. The complaint alleges that Davant Spencer Johnson, a person only identified as victim 2, argued, and Spencer Johnson pulled out a gun. The two wrestled with the gun before falling to the ground when a single round was fired. The bullet struck the adult victim in the thumb and also grazed the 3-year-old's head. Both are reported in stable condition. Police identified Spencer Johnson as the 3-year-old boy's father. According to the criminal complaint, there were 6 kids present between 8 months old to 5 years old at the time of the shooting. Pittsburgh Police Commander Richard Ford said in a statement from Pittsburgh Police Headquarters, quote, "The 3-year-old is fine. The other children, I'm understanding, are in custody of a grandmother. There was another family member on the scene, so they were put in the custody while the other people who were involved in the altercation were brought back here and interviewed, and I believe they are still with the grandmother," end quote. Spencer Johnson was charged with multiple counts of aggravated assault, reckless endangerment, and endangering the welfare of children. A federal judge has confirmed the trial date for Robert Bowers, the man accused of perpetrating the Tree of Life synagogue attack in 2018. The shooting resulted in the death of 11 worshipers attending the Squirrel Hill Synagogue. The U.S. Attorney's Office is seeking the death penalty. U.S. District Judge Robert J. Covile released in an order on Monday, September 19th, stating that the jury selection process will begin on April 24th of next year. There are many clubs on Point Park's campus, and there's something special for everyone. Pencils of Doom is a club that is seeing its 2022 revival. I met with the club's vice president, Julie Bailey, to get all the details.
So, hi, my name is Julie. I'm a legal studies major and I'm a sophomore. I am the vice president of Pencils of Doom. And basically what I do is I do social media. So like I'll make the graphics we post, the flyers that we send out, all of that stuff that you see like for promotion and club membership like that, I do that. So Pencils of Doom is the art club that is on the Parks campus. We do like painting events for the entire student body to come to, and we do bi-weekly meetings where we do sketching and get to know each other. So it was a club before we restarted it in the spring of 2022, so last semester. We restarted it because it had been kind of dead for a long time because the people who ran it graduated, so we didn't have an art club. And we restarted it because we all like to do art. Like we all like those of us who run it, like we love to do art, but like there's no way to do it on campus if you don't have like if you're not in COPA, if you're not in like the conservatory, you don't get to do art. Like animation majors just get to do art all the time because that's their job. But we don't get to do that because the rest of us are like doing other things that are going to be different careers. So we don't get to do art like that. So we decided to restart the art club and let everyone do art and not just So I want, for people who are attending our events and like join our club, I want them to have a sense of community, a sense of people that like they belong to, some kind of like safe space. So like if they needed something, they could always come to us. They could always come and like talk to us and feel like they belong as part of our community because we like to be close with each other. And I would like for people to see that. Like, yeah, we're art club, but there's not many of you good at art to do an art club. Art club's for anybody who wants to do art. You don't have to be good at it. We can teach you how to do it. You don't have to be good at art club to do an art club.
A local man is facing charges for making multiple threats in a Delmont Dairy Queen. Reporter Salvatore Alia has more details on the story.
A local man is facing a number of charges for entering a Dairy Queen with the aim to, quote, kill all Democrats. Jan Stavovi of Westmoreland County entered a Delmont Dairy Queen on Saturday the 13th wearing a clown wig, a high visibility vest, as well as brandishing a .40 caliber handgun. A passerby called police, and within minutes, Officer Gregory Stoll was on the scene to apprehend the suspect. Officer Stoll claims Stavovi told him that he was working undercover to restore former President Donald Trump as President King of America. Police found 2 more handguns and over 60 rounds of ammunition in his vehicle. Upon further investigation, police found several alarming posts on Stavovi's social media, such as Civil War 2024, as well as letters addressed to Stavovi being asked to leave 2 separate congregations for scaring churchgoers, on one occasion dressing in full clown costume. He is currently being held with pending charges such as possessing an unlicensed firearm, terroristic threats, and disorderly conduct. Both the Delmont Police Chief and Westmoreland County District Attorney have commended Officer Stoll for his swift action and bravery.
Recently, there have been multiple thefts in the Pittsburgh area. However, these events are not just a Western Pennsylvania issue. Alex Lonizer has more details on what is being done to combat these crimes.
Pittsburgh police are investigating a recent spike in the theft of catalytic converters in cars. This is part of a current nationwide trend, as it can be very profitable with the converters containing small amounts of expensive metals. Catalytic converters are a part of a vehicle's exhaust system that help reduce pollutants and harmful gases and emissions. Thieves are able to use a saw to take them off a car in just a few minutes. As for Pittsburgh, police have reported that so far this year, there have been more than 182 thefts. According to the police, this is a significant increase in the last 3 years. As of 2019, only 5 thefts were reported. They noted that the Toyota Prius and Ford F-150 were 2 models that have been frequently targeted. They recommend that citizens use anti-theft devices and park their cars in garages or in well-lit areas. Pittsburgh Police Detective Donald Pasquarelli said, quote, "Another big deterrent is a home surveillance system. We found that cases where your private cameras at home directed at your vehicles might help, or at least help us in trying to identify these people," end quote. If you see any suspicious activity, make sure to call the police.
Pittsburgh and nearby counties have reported high volumes of the spotted lanternfly within their vicinities. In Allegheny County alone, there have been over 2,944 reports of the insect, according to the PA Department of Agriculture, while statewide there has been over 9,000. The spotted lanternfly is an insect that poses no threat to humans. However, it is an invasive species that can cause extreme deterrent to surrounding trees and plants. Local grape vineyards have been the target of these insects, causing great damage to Pennsylvania's grape production. The Department of Agriculture encourages people to kill these insects or to set out circle traps, which can attract and trap dozens at a time. After the break, we'll have your local Pittsburgh weather report with Craig Frykowski. Find out if it's time to unpack the sweaters and boots, or if the tank tops and sundresses are here to stay for a little while longer. We'll be right back.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening, and welcome back to NewsNight. Most of the student body of the Pittsburgh Public School.
Some of the United States allies.
Thursday, the FBI was seen raiding.
Let's get started with today's forecast.
Today's high will only reach about 31 degrees.
It's looking a little cooler than we've seen in the past few weeks.
All this and more
All this and more
All this and more coming up on NewsNight.
coming up on NewsNight.
coming up on NewsNight.
The Oklahoma City Zoo welcomed a new birth of a rare and endangered species in the past few days. The animal, an okapi, was born to a first-time mother, K.N., just before 4 a.m. on September 7th in the Oklahoma City Zoo's Okapi barn. This birth marks the 7th okapi calf born at the zoo and the most recent birth since 2015. The okapi, also known as the forest of zebra giraffe, is the only surviving relative of the giraffe. In a statement given by OKC Zoo's curator of hoofstock and primates, Tracy Dolphin said, quote, "We are overjoyed about the arrival of K.N.'s first calf and welcoming the new generation of our okapi family," end quote. As we roll into mid-September, the temperatures are reflecting that we've had a nice mix of hot and cold and rain and sunshine. But now Craig Frykowski is here to give you an update for the weather this week. Craig?
Thanks, Aaron. It's good to be back. Let's start with a look at tomorrow's forecast. It's looking to be a cooler day with a high of 66 degrees. There looks to be a passing morning shower or two, but an otherwise dramatic shift into the fall season. At night, the temperatures are going to drop to the high 40s. Luckily, it'll be a clear night with no strong chance of rain, but make sure to bundle up. These temperatures are unseasonably cool, but expected as we shift fully into the fall season. Now let's look at the rest of the week. The rest of the week is going to have temperatures ranging from the mid-60s to the low 70s. We won't be having too many more hot days, so enjoy the weather while you can. The warmest day next week is going to be a Sunday with a high of 71 degrees. However, Sunday won't offer much sunshine. The sky will be mostly cloudy with some slight chances of rain. The coolest day is Friday at 63 degrees. And overall, the week will be pretty cloudy with some scattered showers. That's all I have for you this week. Back to you, Aaron.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of NewsNight. If you want to see more, check out our social media pages on both Facebook and Instagram at UView Television. You can also check out more episodes on our YouTube channel or our website, uview.pointpark.edu. I'm Aaron Ute, and from everyone here at NewsNight, thank you for watching and have a great evening.